Hey everybody, this is the Abundance to Give podcast, episode 15. Today we have a special guest, Alex Quezada. He is the managing member of two major companies that he has. One is Vault Ventures LLC, and the other one is Quick Cash Flow LLC?
Quick Cash Offer. It's our wholesale operation.
Quick Cash Offer. And one of them is mainly a wholesaling company. The other one is focused on income producing assets. Is that right?
Correct. Yep. So we have over 1,800 doors. So that's including self-storage, mobile home parks, apartment buildings, houses that we use for single-family rental and short-term rental. But my main focus right now is just self-storage.
And because I met you at Kent Clothier's Boardroom Mastermind in San Diego in December 2022, and we kind of started talking about what you're doing in your social media presence, how you've grown. How have you mainly done the hockey stick effect from when you were doing mainly wholesaling and flipping, or mainly wholesaling to flippers, I should say, and moving into the passive income game through storage facilities, apartments, other types of rental properties?
Yeah, so it was initially from just educating myself. So in the beginning, it was really on learning creative financing, and a lot in the beginning was a lot of just transactional. So just wholesaling until I got some money up, and then had more knowledge in creative financing. And then eventually I put into practice, okay, I'm gonna start buying some of these assets. It was a little bit maybe when when I was found out I was gonna have a daughter. And then I think ever since then, I started actually keeping assets instead of just being transactional. And so we started buying properties with creative financing, a lot of houses each and every year. Got our first mobile home park in 2017, and really just building a team and replacing myself so that way I can truly focus on, taking down assets, buying commercial properties, and have my brother pretty much run my wholesale operation. So my brother, I'm pretty much out of the wholesale operation. My brother pretty much runs it. I'll step in here and there when they need me, but my focus is self-storage.
How are you currently finding wholesale deals in this tight inventory market today?
So right now, actually, our wholesale business is doing pretty well. There's actually, because there is a lot of hurt in the marketplace, the rise of costs of, inflation, people, losing jobs. There is hurt. People are hurting. They can't afford their payments and mortgages. So we actually are having more people, reach out to us, and there's actually less people. There's less competition now. A lot of the competition was a lot of hedge fund buyers, a lot of wholesalers selling to hedge funds. Right now, we have a lot more inbound marketing coming our way, and people are more receptive to pricings. Our price, a lower offer, because now things aren't just flying off the market. Things are sitting longer, and when people need to move and actually have a motivation to sell, they're calling us or reaching out through our marketing, and they're willing to take a lower price. And when they're not, that's when we convert to a creative finance offer, and buy these properties for ourselves to keep. Sometimes we wholesale them, and then do some other different strategies where we can make a quick profit on these deals.
Will you flip properties? Will you do the renos and the flips, or no?
So we've done a lot of renovations and flips. We actually are selling a new build today on a property that we did with a partner of ours. But majority of what we're doing this year, our focus this year on the single family side, is strictly our goal. In the beginning of the year, we stated we're only going to take down creative finance deals that are at least ARV of 250 and above, 3.2s, block homes, only in Florida, only creative finance deals. We're not going to buy anything for essentially to rehab, just buy and hold creative finance deals. If it has some rehab that has to be done, that's fine. But we're looking to buy only those deals, and then only self-storage. So those are our two, goals for this year.
So let's talk about the creative financing for a minute. Obviously you have, Pace Morby. It's pretty out there, pretty heavy. You hear a lot of it. In order for the, say, call it seller financing, subject to other things, obviously subject to there's debt on the property existing. Are you doing AITDs on that front? And then if it's free and clear, is that where the seller financing's coming in?
What's AITDs?
Sorry. All-inclusive trust deed, where you're basically wrapping the existing first trust deed. Yeah, all that. Yeah.
No, so essentially when we do subject twos, we take it over subject to the underlying mortgage. We typically buy it in a land trust, and so we buy in a
Okay.
land trust, whatever the address is, 123 Main Street Land Trust. It moves into that land trust, and then we are the beneficial owner of the land trust. So the seller actually transfers us. They have the title company create a land trust. They actually sign the property over to the land trust, and then we essentially buy the beneficial interest of that land trust. That's how we work
Upon
that
their
deal.
death, or
No, as
okay,
soon as
so
as soon as they want to sell the property, we move forward. So like we say, hey, they got to sell, they're going to move. We'll buy the property. Title company handles the transaction. It goes into the land trust. We own the land trust now, and we move forward with the property.
gotcha.
Go ahead.
Are the land, because I'm not familiar with the land trust, that's why I'm getting educated here. Are the land trusts single purpose land trusts, or are there multiple properties within there?
They're single purpose. That's the way we use
Okay.
them.
Gotcha. Yeah, because we've always, and then obviously seller financing. What's the most creative one you've done recently? Has it been, subject to, or has it been seller financing?
I've done some definitely very creative ones, but my newest and best one was seller financing, which is a self storage facility. We just closed like 2 weeks ago, and that's outside of Houston, Texas. It was a $5.5 million purchase, 85% seller financing, 3% interest on that, 30-year amortization, 10-year balloon. So that was a killer deal for us for that kind of size of a purchase, and the add value there's on the property for us, where we feel like in 2-3 years that property could be worth $9-10 million.
When you did that, was that a free and clear asset? So there wasn't any debt on it, so the seller could carry back 85%, and then you put 15% down, and then I know it's 10-year term amortization over 30. What was the interest rate?
3% amortized for 30 years.
They took a 3% interest rate in this environment.
Yeah, it was good.
Wow. What is it? Because they got like a crazy price? I'm just curious the benefit for the seller.
So the price was based on, for multiple things. One, this is kind of it's self storage, but there's also office warehouse, and there's also a lot of parking. And so,
Gotcha.
one thing is when there's so much different activity like that, and what he was wanting for the property based on his expenses. His expenses were kind of high, but those are things that I immediately kind of fix and change because the way we're going to run the facility compared to how he ran it. And so with those things that were immediate impact for us, one thing we did do was he did get an appraisal done, and the appraisal is based on his financials. But his financials aren't going to be my financials because we're going to we're going to manage it differently, and we're going to add value. And so based on the appraisal, I paid a premium based on the appraisal to get the seller financing. So I paid more than the appraised value, but my value after I run it, already, for owning it 2 weeks, I've cut things and my numbers are going to be drastically different. So I think we created a win-win situation. All these sellers, we're looking for win-win situations. What are they looking for? We paid their price. We gave him what he wanted per month. And this was more a realistic seller who was knowing how things need to be based on what current interest rates are. And so based on current interest rates on his financials, we probably would have landed at a lower price. And, he would have to go find somewhere to park that money and have it in a safe location. And so, I think we came to a win-win situation.
Gotcha. So he was able to get a price that made sense for him, which is why he took that interest rate, that carry at 3%, even though that's lower than the market interest rates that he could get today.
The facilities to automate them. So what we use is typically we run it with a on-call, on-site manager, on-call by appointment manager. So there's not somebody who's full-time there all the time. So that person's probably getting paid between $800 to $1,000 a month, maybe a little bit slightly more. And their job is just to go look at the facility and maintain it, where most people have somebody full-time there all the time, and they're probably getting paid, 40, 50K a year. So we can drastically cut that, that payroll expense. What we also do is put, software and systems in place, certain, software systems. We use StoreEdge as one with the gate access controls that allow to easily lock out a customer if they don't pay. The websites using the ease of booking online where they don't ever have
Hmm.
to really meet somebody. And with everything that happened in COVID, allowing people the shift of like not having to meet with people and not having to do business face to face, it's kind of like made the forefront uh, in self storage to run this kind of way where you don't need somebody to be there all the time and take care of you. A lot of people, things can be done automatically, without ever speaking to someone face to face. So
Yeah, so to kind of get back on that real quick, so with that
Or if we could
self-storage
chat.
facility and how you automate these self-storage things to get them to run more efficiently at lower cost, you said you're doing the booking online. They're not really needing to talk to somebody that's at the property. Do they need any kind of people connection? I'm sure you do want to make sure who's getting into these places to unlock them and lock them and get them their locks and stuff.
For sure. Yeah. So what we do also is we have a call center. So we use a call center service. And so essentially it's 12 hours a day, 7 days a week number that the clients can call. It's posted on the door, on the gate, where they can reach out if they do need to talk to somebody. And most of the time they can handle, whatever questions they have, they can handle it. If it's kind of something that the call center can't handle, then it gets elevated to my team. So myself or my project manager, my asset manager will handle any issues that call them back and handle anything that might come up. Usually it's nothing so urgent or anything like that comes up. And we also use typically how we kind of manage it with our boots on the ground, like kind of our by appointment manager. They go around the property, they put locks on the property. We use like these Da Vinci locks. On other sites, we use just zip ties. And so when somebody books online and books their unit B12, they go to their unit B12 and they're either going to see a Da Vinci lock with a code. They'll call in the call center. They say, hey, this is the code of my lockbox. And they'll get the password. And then they open that. They return that lock to us because it's a special lock. And then they open their unit and they have a lock that we give them inside their unit. That's a regular disc lock. And
Oh, wow.
And they get to use that lock for their business. Or on our other sites, we have like zip ties and they just have to, we tell them in the instructions, bring something to cut a zip tie. They cut the zip tie and then they have their unit and that's it. So it's pretty simple. You can make it pretty easy. Just got to give good instructions and have a lot of good signage on the property.
Yeah. So, and then how much do you think you can drop expenses by doing that? I mean, in comparison to somebody that's operating differently, are you taking 10, 15% off the rolls or is it different?
It's really going to be the payroll expense is like going to be the biggest cost savings. The three highest expenses in storage is taxes, insurance, and payroll. So if you can significantly cut payroll.
So jumping into that, like, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? I mean, is there a certain number of doors you're trying to achieve? Is it, is there ways that, because obviously with this podcast being abundance to give, are there certain foundations, charities, things that you care about most that you want to leave a legacy to or help give back to?
For sure. So, my goal was originally to get to like 5,000 doors. We just sold 3 properties, and it was never my intention originally when starting to buy self-storage to sell the properties. But being in a group with a self-storage mastermind and talking to other guys in there and kind of just looking at the deal differently than my eyes typically look at it, they're saying, hey, like you created so much value, you doubled the value on these 3 properties so quickly. Your equity is trapped in this property. Why it doesn't make really sense to hold it unless these are legacy properties that you're going to hold forever, Class A properties. And they weren't. They're, 20, 30,000 square foot properties where when we looked at the income that we were personally making compared to if we sold it and what we would personally make, that there would be, our return on equity was like 2%. So it only made sense to sell the properties, take that capital and go make 10, 20, 30% on that capital. So we sold those properties. So looking now forward, I always feel like I don't know if 5,000 doors is like a true goal that I should have now, because I feel like now I have more in the mindset of looking at that return on equity. And so that new deal we just bought, it's 80,000 square feet. It's a big property. It's a nice asset. Like that is something that I probably would keep for a long time. But if I can make that worth $10 million in 2 years, then I'm going to have that same problem again. And my return on equity is going to be very low. And does it make sense to keep it? Or should I sell that in trade up into something bigger. And so it's like a game, I don't know, that's ever going to stop, of like trying to, you know, maximize the dollars in your returns. And so I don't know if I maybe have to change my goal for $5,000. Maybe I'll get to $5,000 with still selling stuff off, but I'm not sure if that's going to be my new goal, or if I have to kind of center it around something else. We also have a company based in Colombia, South America. And that's where my business partner and I do a lot of the give back. He funds like a school over there, gives back a lot to the community, to the area, doing a lot of job growth over there. Most stateside here is kind of, for me, is trying to buy legacy assets to pass down to my family. We retired my parents, and, you know, trying to just, you know, give back to our community here in Orlando, like helping other people, you know, learn real estate, educating them, sharing our knowledge and experience.
That's amazing. And so if you were to do that down south in the Columbia area, is this trying to, you know, build homes? Is it to give back to schools and communities? What type of stuff specifically?
Yeah, so it's mostly like he's helping a lot with he's boots on the ground there. So he lives in Colombia, so he's pretty much him and his wife handle most of that over there. But through our business over there, we give back a lot to the schools. So like helping the schools, funding schools, you know, so providing, you know, supplies and food and lunches, and helping out the community as much as possible is a lot of what we do give back to the community over there. And just because there's third world country, it's a lot there. They have a lot more needs, you know, than a lot of people over here, and, you know, try to give back to a lot. And we employ over 200 people over there, so it's a bigger impact over there.
Economically speaking, let's talk on like some current topics real quick. What do you think is going to happen over the next 12 months in the commercial real estate space?
I think with as you probably know, in multifamily, it'll probably be a lot of loans coming due, people's timelines ending, and having to refinance or sell. And they're not going to be able to probably hit their projections. So they're going to have to take a loss. They're going to have to raise more capital. And they're going to have to figure out a way they can exit. And some people might probably have to give some things back to the bank. They might have to, you know, sell at a loss. And so there's going to be opportunity there. In self-storage, it depends a little bit differently. You know, the loans I've gotten for self-storage were like 65% LTVs. So you can have, you know, lose some occupancy, lose some, you know, your income can go down some, and you could still hit your DSCR, you know, requirements. And with multifamily, from, you know, my knowledge is, you know, a lot of the loans are like 80%. So some vacancies, some hits to your income, and you're not in your lending guidelines, and you might have your loan call due. So I think there's gonna be some impacts on the multifamily everywhere. I hear from, you know, masterminds and groups I'm in, is there's going to be impact on the multifamily, and there's going to be, you know, people have, you know, dry powder on the sidelines ready to take action. For me on self-storage, I'm trying to be open to that same concept. If deals, like anticipating some good deals coming our way, but we're still actively looking for deals right now. As long as we can buy them, great deals with added value opportunity, and we can create the value and force the appreciation.
Yeah. No, and you hear it being talked about right now, just given exactly what you said. You have a handful of loans being, you know, coming due this year in 2023. You know, thankfully, at least an asset we bought in the end of 2021, which, you know, hindsight being the peak of the market, but you know, that's a 3-year loan on it. We're working on refinancing it right now. Thankfully, like you said, I mean, we are hitting our metrics and projections in terms of rents and getting operations in line. We did raise additional equity to buy down the debt, and we're working on doing a refinance into an agency position now, and that's fixed, nice, right, for longer term to basically hold on to that asset. Thankfully, we're not in a position like a lot of syndicators have been, where they got a bunch of properties, right, and they're way over leveraged, and they can't service the debt, and then they can't get out of it. They can't raise more capital, so their exit opportunity is far bleaker, right? Far bleak. Did you hear about the guys that just gave 3,200 units back in Houston?
No. Who's that?
I guess they just, I don't know who the group was, but yeah, it was a portfolio that just went back to the banks, 3,200 units in Houston, several properties. Yeah, so it's definitely starting. There's another couple large syndicator groups. I can't mention their names. That there's a high likelihood of bankruptcy this year, pretty soon. That could be hitting. So I think the second half of this year is going to be very interesting on the stuff you were just talking about.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely going to be opportunity out there. We're still marketing heavily, but, we're going to stick to self-storage. It's a great asset class, and it's based more on supply and demand than, anything else. So you just got to find those good markets and operate, well.
Are most of the deals in Florida right now that you're getting on the self-storage side, or are you going outside of the state?
So we purchased 8 inside Florida. It's been a little bit harder to keep up with our desired goals for self-storage just being in Florida, because there's only so many, I think our list is like less than 3,000 that we would actually buy or go after, that we're going after. And so we have to kind of expand out. So that's why we got that one in Texas. Outside of Houston, we have one under contract in Utah, and we're working on some others as well. Talking to some guys in Iowa and one in Indiana. So we're looking elsewhere. We started marketing outside of the state all over the country now, just because there's just limited inventory in Florida. So to get to the numbers we want to get to, we have to go a little bit wider.
But if there's like kind of one piece of advice that you could give to a newbie investor trying to come up in the space like yourself, are there some tidbits, some one-liners you could throw out there to keep them motivated?
Yeah, I think it's really, you got to focus on mindset and education. Like it's really the most important piece. For a lot of times I would go to conferences and I would kind of like not pay attention really when people talked about goals and mindset. I was just not there mentally in my head. And then when I actually like started, seeing other people and how they live their lives and have writings on all their walls and their windows and mirrors, and like, really projecting, their life forward, and getting, a book, I think, The Millionaire Course, that is really what kind of like sparked in my head. Like, I need to like really have the mindset that this is possible. And I can, think about my success and kind of almost like project my life, the life I want. And when I really kind of like wrote down my goals and what I was going to plan my plan to achieve my goals, and, take those actions, that I, got everything I have in life right now, I've literally have written down before, to my wife, my daughter, the house we're building, everything, my team here, multiple businesses, like, has all been written down first. And so a lot of people, and myself included, when I was younger, I just didn't have that. I just wasn't doing that. And so it took, getting into certain rooms and to get educated, surrounding yourself with other people who are where you want to be. That's like the number one thing. So like, if you're young and you want to, go big places, or, be a real estate investor, or whatever you want to do in life, you should like look for that mentor. You should look to be around those guys, those people who emulate what you want to be and become, and just make sure you surround yourself with those people, whether you work for free, you work for them, or, hire them as a coach or a mentor. You got to get around people who are doing what you want to do. And I think that's the number one thing that's for anybody.
Yeah. And that's a consistent theme you hear across the board, right? Is get into the rooms and network. I mean, even Grant Cardone was saying it the other day on Lewis Howes' podcast. He says, the money's, when he thinks of money, he thinks of people, right? Because all the money's with all the people. So go make all the connections, develop the networks. If you need to raise capital, if you need to do things, if you need to grow, the money's with all the other people. So the more people the more chances there are at the money and the capital and the opportunity.
Got to meet those people, network.
Yeah. I really appreciate your time and taking this East Coast to West Coast, man.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. If you're looking for more guests, my business partner who lives in Colombia, who runs our call center out there, I could send him your info, or I could connect you guys and see if he can jump on with you as well and share his story. And, I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat soon. Thanks for coming on.